This broadcast is brought to you by Logitech G, Motorsport Australia, Playseat, The Gamesman, OG Gear, SimSpeed TV, Speed Cafe, and the Australian Sim Racing Group.
Baba, what are we playing?
Ya lo sabéis, it's Halo Day.
Yeah, one sec.
He's playing football, isn't he?
You know he fancies himself a footballer.
Oh, whatever. Look, your love makes me strong, but your hate makes me invincible. All right, let's get on Halo then.
Let's go.
Ready.
Dale.
He's on my back this time, right?
Chill, chaval. I won't ghost you this time.
I'm going hallway.
I got right.
Uno fuera.
Oh, another one down. Lock in. Next kill wins it.
Where is he? No lo veo.
Alicia, you hear that?
Pick on him, top left.
Bet. I'll push it. He's one shot.
Game over.
Got him.
Well played.
Same time tomorrow then.
We'll see.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, nos vemos.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
Hi, I'm Brendan Leach, driver of the number 7 Audi R8 or MPC Audi Custom Racing. First impressions of OG gear on the sim, fantastic. It feels really nice in your hands and doesn't gather up under your fingers. The sock, very breathable for me. I get sweaty feet when I'm on the simulator. I know that's not the nicest thing to say. It has just the right amount of grip because your feet do just naturally move around on the pedals a little bit, and I like the way that they give you that freedom but also give you that stability that you need.
Seven rounds into the 2024 Logitech G Pro Invitational E-Series. The attention, the mindset, the focus shifts from sprint mode to endurance racing. The first of 3 rounds of the Trueforce Enduro Cup. And whilst rounds 9 and 10 of the championship will be on far more familiar territory as far as endurance racing and the supercars are concerned, namely the Sandown Motor Raceway in Victoria and Mount Panorama Bathurst, The unknown entity is the opening installment of the Trueforce Enduro Cup. It is the Interlagos circuit in Brazil, hosting round 8 of the campaign and round 1 of the Enduros. We switch the mindset from the 200-point races to 400 points for the next few weeks. And, of course, 1,200 points up for grabs, meaning there's any number of drivers still in championship contention. But all eyes are on the role that the co-drivers will play in making and shaping the season over the course of the next few weeks. Good evening, everybody. Zach Caban deputising for Scott Rankin, and of course, Sandman's here alongside me as well. Welcome to our coverage of round 1 of the Trueforce Enduro Cup. Sandman, I should say, I'm deputising for Scott Rankin, so you're my eyes, you're my ears tonight. Welcome to you. Great to have you on board, as per usual. The voice of the series, as Brenton Hobson reliably informs me. And there's a sense of there's an air of anticipation and a sense of excitement about the paddock at the moment, because the intensity, the stakes raised when we get to the Enduros, not just double points in terms of the championship, but also some real star power in the co-driver seats as well. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Zach. Good evening, everyone, wherever you're watching around Australia or around the world. This is Enduro season, and what a race we've got to Interlagos. It's one of those racetracks that has a little bit of everything, and I say that a lot, but this really does. The undulation in the place and the turns that we've got is it's real characteristic of this racetrack, and I think it's going to be one for our V8 Supercar drivers to get their heads around. And like you said, Enduro season, what does that bring us? Well, it brings us an extra backside in the seat, because you've got to put the hands of your possible championship in someone else's reliable hands. So much can happen, so much can go right, so much can go wrong, and they've got a decent amount of laps around here to get it all sorted out. So we're in for an absolute cracker, I reckon.
And I think a lot of people are very excited about the amount of supercar drivers from the real world that are on the grid tonight, and there's even a wild card that we've got to get to as well. But firstly, mate, let's have a look at the playground for the next few hours ahead.
Yeah, São Paulo, you can see it's a great racetrack, obviously very historic for Formula One, and mate, to have our own Aussie V8 supercars around here in the virtual world, it's really going to be a test for these guys, because you look at the racetrack and you think, yeah, okay, well, not too much to it. There are some tricky race corners there, but the undulation, what I spoke of too, about getting the corners, especially 1, 2, and 3, carrying that speed, and then of course 12, you carry so much speed through turn 11 and into 12, and you, of course, getting a nice exit there is crucial, because such a long straightaway all the way around to the start-finish line, you carry that speed, and that could be crucial.
And of course, more synonymous with Formula One, and in recent weeks, the FIA World Endurance Championship visited the venue as well. We love coming to the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. Any number of different sim racing categories that visit this circuit, it always produces good racing. Supercars, no exception. But tonight, it's 117 laps, so you've got to play the long game here, mate, haven't you? I mean, there's no margin for error for the championship contenders, but in saying that, and we'll have a look at the championship points in just a few moments' time, there's quite a few drivers here that aren't necessarily in championship contention as far as the overall 12 rounds are concerned, but this little 3-race Enduro Championship where there's 1,200 points on the line, any number of drivers could throw their hat into the ring and be the winner of this Trueforce Enduro Cup. In saying that, as far as the overall championship's concerned as well, there could be a few people that just say, you know what, let's throw caution to the wind and see how we go.
Exactly right. You touched on that. Doesn't matter where you are in the championship, there's always going to be strong contenders throughout this field. And for those drivers that are jumping in for that reserve role and just for the Enduro Cup, they're thinking, you know what, we didn't actually make the grid this year for the Logitech G Series, so let's put our best foot forward and let's see if we can at least win the Enduro Cup. So if they're thinking that in the back of their mind, they're obviously not going to be too concerned about the overall championship. So it could get a little bit dicey, but I'm sure cooler heads will prevail and we'll be up for some amazing racing.
One thing I look at as far as the overall championship picture is concerned is someone with the sim racing pedigree of Madison Down has only featured on the podium once so far this season, mate, but he still finds himself only 190 points off the championship lead. He's right in the mix here, isn't he?
Absolutely. He's one of the guys that you'll never, ever count out of a race, regardless of how that night's going. We've seen him where he's, hasn't probably qualified as well, but he's raced well, and, things change. But especially when we talk about endurance races, he's someone that you do not want to rule out. And I really love his driver pairing too. A real fan, and when I saw that driver pairing, it was actually one of my favourites, knowing I knew sort of a little bit in coming up into the race before it got announced, and I was actually quite chuffed about his driver pairing for this round. So yeah, absolutely stoked to see how he goes tonight.
Let's get to driver pairings in just a moment, because by gee, the calibre of talent on show tonight has to be seen to be believed, ladies and gentlemen. But let's have a look at the championship points as we venture into this round. And you'll see that Jared Filsell is top of the crops at the moment. I mean, four rounds on the trot. This guy has won. Caught up in the big one, normally reserved for ovals like Daytona and Talladega. The big one was at Sebring earlier in the season. Anybody that saw that would know what I'm talking about. Go back and check it on the YouTube channels, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already seen it. Just carnage in the closing stages of round one of the season. But Phil Sells fought his way back from that to hold sway by 14 points over Dylan Rudd at the moment. Lobs Esports 1-2 at the top of the pecking order here. Rick Kuznetsov, good steerer, 1,108 points, only 4 clear of James Scott. Madison there in fifth, 982, 14 points back to Brady Myers. Jake Burton, 922, Andrew Gilliam, and then Tom Freer and Blake Warboys. So have a look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 different teams represented in the top 10. Lobs Esports, 9-5 Sim Sport, Trans Tasman Racing, Synergy Sim Racing, WKP, make it 5 different teams represented in the top 10. And the real heavyweights of tonight lay within Lobs Esports. I mean, Synergy Sim Sport will be well represented in tonight's field, 9-5 Sim Sport as well. If you're just joining us, folks, only 3.5 minutes left in the practice session here, qualifying not too far away. Then, of course, we'll get into 117 laps of torture around the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. There's... right on cue, our producer doing a marvellous job off the top here tonight. One of the talking points, Brody Kostecki, defending Supercars champion in the real world, teaming up with our current championship points leader, Jared Filsell. And the speculation, or at least the discussion point on the podcast earlier in the week with the two Brentons, was that these guys will be going into this Enduro Cup, Sandman, expecting to win all 3. That would be where they've got the bar set.
Absolutely, and it's hard to bet against that. You know, you look at the form that Jared's been in this season, and you know, Brody's efforts all speak for himself as well. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful combination. So we know how these guys go about their racing, and over this distance, you know, they'll be pretty calm. You know, they're already, you know, towards the top of the timesheets there. I don't think they're too concerned about being P1 in practice. So they'll qualify well, providing that everything goes to plan, and they'll be a definite threat throughout the race because it's such a strong driver pairing. And don't be too surprised if they do take it out.
2-time Circuit XL National Champion Ethan Grigalt on screen at the moment. He's driving with Brad Ryan, but I mean, take nothing away from what he's achieved in the real world. When it comes to the supercar and the sim rig, he is among the best of them as well. We'll talk about EGG a little bit later on. You mentioned Madison Down. We're very excited about the prospects of what he and Rehan Leonard might be able to get up to tonight, mate. I mean, Rehan, I mean, you wouldn't believe how young the bloke is. He puts many of us to shame in terms of his ability and what he's been able to achieve in a very short period of time.
Absolutely. I rate Rehan, and I'm absolutely thrilled. Like I said, I was so excited when I found out about this driver pairing, and he's definitely got a bright future in front of him. Like you said, he's a young fella, but he's got a smart head on his shoulders, and you know, his racecraft is really good, and he'll learn so much from Madison tonight. And I just love that Madison's gone, you know what, you know, let's take him under my wing. I think Madison sees a lot of himself in Rehan, and you know, I'm of the same opinion. When I first saw Rehan race in our series, I was actually thrilled to have him a part of it. And then when I saw that he wasn't racing this year, but then found out he was teaming up with Madison, I thought, you beauty, you know, what a better person to race with and learn with. And, you know, to be in that TTR fold with Madison Down, that's awesome. And I think we're going to see more of his name in the future.
Now, if you're having a look at the live timing screen there on the left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, you'll notice that there's an extra little graph there that indicates exactly which driver's behind the wheel at the moment for you. So no surprise, Brody Kostecki's out there in the number 94, position number 2 at the moment. Less than a tenth of a second off the Scott and Wood combination. But let's be perfectly honest, Sam, man, I want to ask you this question before we launch into qualifying, and it's going to be rapid fire in a few moments. Practice pace one thing, racing quite another, qualifying in between as well. How much of an emphasis are these blokes placing on qualifying, knowing that it's 500 kilometres, knowing what has happened in Enduros in the past, and that we can often work our way through from, in worst case scenarios, mid to rear pack?
Yeah, well, I guess the one thing that plays on drivers' minds, no matter how long the length of the race, if you don't qualify well, you've got a good chance of being involved in some custard. So, and that means that could be an early night. You could be straight into the back of the garage, and you could be race over. As we said, the live pictures with all the cars driving out of the lane. Yeah, it gets quite crazy here. So, regardless of everyone obviously wants to qualify pole, but you just don't want to get caught up in what could happen if you're mid-pack.
All right, cars making their way out onto the circuit now for qualifying here. The latest round of the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series, of course. This is the first round of the Trueforce Enduro Cup. And for those of you that are regulars, you'll know that this is a bit of a breakaway from our Friday night and our usual slot. On a Friday night, we find ourselves for rounds 8 and 9. We're usually, of course, racing midweek. That change away, that breakaway, if you like, for these more significant races on the calendar, these signature events. Of course, the Sandown 500 comes up 3 weeks today, Friday, August 30, and all roads lead to the Mecca of Australian motorsport, Mount Panorama, on Sunday, September 22. So that'll be a week after the Repco Supercars Sandown 500 and 3 weeks before the Bathurst 1000, of course. As far as this championship's concerned, we've been gone, come and went from Sebring, Phillip Island, the Red Bull Ring, Jerez, Watkins Glen and Road America, a double sweep through 2 of the iconic tracks of American motorsport. Monza was the last stop. Now it's the 3 Enduros. Round 11 is still to be confirmed, the venue of which will be determined by potential updates coming to iRacing in the next short while. And the season will wrap up at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Here comes Andre Youssef driving with Lewis Greathead. And he looks like he's the lucky one here, Sam, man. He's got the clear track in front of him. He was first cab off the rank, out of pit lane. And you want to make the most of this clear air considering how full and congested this track is about to become.
Absolutely, and we talk about too, once all these cars are on track and they're really going hard at it, the track temperature changes a little bit, and sometimes that can really hurt sort of overall lap speed. So to have that clear air, he's got a fresh track in front of him. He'll be just eyes forward at the moment, and I think his biggest concern with the amount of cars that we got that he doesn't trip over the traffic that could be in front of him. But hopefully that'll all be clear for him. But that's really the only concern that these drivers have, is that they love that little bit of clear racetrack, but you just don't want to be tripping over anyone. But as we always say too, it's crucial just to get that banker down, because yes, you might have a 20-minute session, but that's only really a couple of shots at having a go at it. So it's always important to get that hot lap down and see how your night plays out for this 20-minute session.
Indeed. So the early stages of qualifying, those times are about to rapidly appear on the left-hand side of your screen there, folks. Only 16 minutes and 50 to go, and the first banker numbers are about to be set down as we watch Andre Youssef make his way around through turn 13, 14, and on to 15. We ride on board with him as he makes his way to the start-finish line, and this will set the precedent for what's to come. Let's see where he stacks up compared to everybody else. Interesting to note that they're taking that inside line predominantly until they bank the lap. Now that's all got to do with trying to minimise track length, and then they'll step on out to the outside to then set themselves up nicely to hit the apex at turn 1. Andrew Gilliam, fastest so far. Not anymore. James Scott quickly replaces him. 1 minute 31.603, and then the Trans-Tasman Racing entry, the number 36, has jumped up in there into position number 2, only to be outdone by Griffin Gardner, number 93, and Luke Rosella, number 55. So early doors, it's Gardner, it's Rosella, guys that have featured prominently throughout the course of the season, and James Scott as well. You have to remember, folks, through 7 rounds, we've had 4 different race winners. Yep, sure, Phil Sells won the last 4 on the hop, but we had 3 different race winners at the start of the season. And we've had another 5 drivers on top of that appear on the podium as well. 1 minute 31.551, the benchmark so far for Griffin Gardner, but still a long way to go, Sam, man.
Yeah, I noticed too there was a couple of people that just dived straight into pit lane. They didn't actually get that banker done. So whether that was a plan to help a teammate or something, or whether they just made a mistake and got an off track, and then they decided, obviously, you may as well abort the lap and put on a fresh set of Dunlops and go again. So yeah, it was interesting to see the amount of cars that actually dove into pit lane. But yeah, interesting at the moment. It's all a bit of a sliding board at the moment because there's a number of drivers, big name drivers that we can't see towards the pointy end, but that's the beauty of qualifying. It never all goes to plan and always keeps us on our toes.
The guy that's on track to be the potential rookie of the year, Zach Ratray White, was just one of those drivers that didn't bank a number first time round. So too Brody Kostecki. So keep your eyes peeled, ladies and gentlemen, later in this session as they make their way through and just right on cue. Have a look at how busy pit lanes become. So out, bank the lap, get in, maybe do a driver change, maybe take on some fresh rubber and get back going again. So all of a sudden, the racetrack's gone very quiet, but not for long. It'll be interesting to see how quickly the rest of the field jumps those that didn't bank the first number and get back out onto the racetrack. So again, Kostecki and Ratway White are the 2 that we want to keep an eye on there that haven't posted a number thus far. As of those that have, Gardner, Rosella, Scott, 1, 2 and 3, and the 36 Trans-Tasman Racing entry of Sternberg of Anderson and Rizzo next in there. Then Dylan Wright in the 990 for the 9.5 Sim Sport stable, Gilliam, Rivera, Kuznetsov, Ethan Grigg Galt, and the number 19 9.5 Sim Sport entry, which has Dylan O'Shea and Hayden Sell behind the wheel, number 10. Sam, man, as they go through the motions now of getting themselves set up to go on another flyer, let me ask you, of the other driver combinations that we haven't even got to yet, we've barely scratched the surface, let's be perfectly honest, we're going to have 500 kilometres to do that tonight. Who's catching your fancy and why?
Oh, mate, it's really hard, isn't it? You could almost, with some of the talent that we've got there, you could almost get a dart and throw it to the board and just have a crack and look. We're lucky to have, we speak about the Kostecki's in here, but we've also got other supercar drivers in the field as well. So we're absolutely blessed to have the driver talents that we've got throughout the field. But to have Andre Heimgartner and Macaulay Jones teaming up, that's actually cool. So, look, it's really hard. But like I said from the start, I don't think I could go past Madison Down because that driver pairing I was already so excited about, and to have him, that's probably the one I'm favourite to at the moment.
All right. We might, obviously, we don't play favourites here in Central Commentary, but we can have favourites in terms of combinations for the form guide. Interesting to note as well, folks, with that addition of Heimgartner and Jones, we'll have either 45 or 46 cars lining up on the grid tonight. So she's going to be very, very busy in those first few laps, just trying to find clear real estate. And you've got to take a different mindset into these Enduros, don't you, Sam? And I mean, it's all good and well in the rough and tumble of sprint racing to get the elbows out early. But there's something to be said for maybe easing into it and playing the patient game, the long game, knowing full well that you need to be there, around lap 100, lap 105 to factor in contention in any way, shape or form.
Absolutely. It's one saying that the viewers at home are going to be sick of hearing me say. It's about buying a ticket to the end, isn't it? You don't win the race in the first couple of laps. It's all about keeping that car straight as possible, trying to keep out of much trouble as you can and be there at the end. So there's no point throwing your race away, on lap 12 just because you want to set the fastest lap, or you want to carve your way through the field and pass 6 or 7 blokes in one corner. It's not feasible. So at the end of the day, everyone just needs to settle themselves into a rhythm. And these V8 Supercar guys, that's what this is what half the fun will be for them tonight, is prepping themselves for real life world commitments. And you can see that Andre Heimgartner, who's on screen now, crosses the line. Does he advance his time a little bit? Not as yet. So, but that's what these guys are doing. They want to get themselves into a rhythm and just prep themselves for what they've got ahead in the real life commitments.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, with regards to there's the news at the top of the order, folks. Andrew Gilliam, 131.397. Brody Kostecki, 131.483. So the heavyweights are in town and flexing their muscle in the second stint of flying laps here in qualifying, and already, just like that, 10 minutes have come and gone. Burnt on the clock halfway through qualifying. The time to beat is the 131.397. We now ride on board with Blake Delaney, car number 495. As he rides up through the motions, fourth gear, out of turn 3, the run down the back straight, the Interlagos circuit, more synonymous with Formula One. But it's interesting what Sandman was saying there about the supercar drivers and their real-world commitments. I mean, obviously the next two tracks are going to work right into their wheelhouse, prep them for Sandown and Bathurst respectively, but even they are getting a new test tonight in the way of Interlagos. Some really exciting news that we all woke to this morning from iRacing themselves. We might dive into that a little bit later on as we watch Blake Delaney throwing it a little bit wide on the run up to the top of the hill. So Gilliam, car number 201, going along quite nicely at the moment. I mean, he's got James Golding there alongside him, but it is Gilliam at the helm, and he has set the bank up. But a strong combination. So you got supercar drivers 1 and 2 at the moment. James Scott there in 30.088, and Griffin Gardner, who unfortunately didn't get caught up in the carnage at Sebring, Sam Man. But my research tells me that he fell victim of the mechanical issues of the sim world, a tech issue. He got booted from the server. He had a dropout. No sooner than that safety car was called to bring the field under some sort of control.
That's got to be the most heartbreaking thing, isn't it? You know, you get through that sort of carnage and you got yourself in a position, and you know, I guess we call it in the sim racing world, that's our 20-cent part, isn't it? That just, you know, gives up on us. And unfortunately, you know, yeah, it's absolutely, I was shocked. Like, it's just, you really felt for him, because it was like, man, it's just something that's totally out of your control. And, but hey, I guess, you know, it's the old adage, isn't it? That's racing. And I guess that's one of the things that thankfully we don't have to contend with a lot in the sim racing world, but occasionally it will throw us a curveball.
Indeed it will. We pick up Jake Burton on screen there, driving with Emily Jones, and Emily has the minority well and truly here, because she's the only female in the field. But great to see what she will bring to the table throughout the course of 117 laps. And that's the other thing. There are going to be combinations tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that reach out and grab us by surprise, because that's what endurance racing does. It shakes things up. It throws the cat amongst the pigeons. Strategy play is going to come into it. You're going to have to buy some luck along the way here as well. But the guys that are in championship contention, as far as the regular season are concerned as well, Sam, man, they're going to have to play a cautious game to a point, because they're going to have to think about the long game, aren't they? I mean, talk to me about, as far as these guys are concerned, which holds more weight, which holds more importance, or is it okay to go into the race with that mindset of thinking about one or the other, and then maybe it goes out the window once, you know, the red mist descends?
Well, there's probably, realistically, there's only a handful of drivers that are probably thinking championship picture at the moment, and that you might be thinking maybe the top 5 or more, but ideally there's still enough points on the table with the remaining endurance races to sort of, I guess, fight back a little bit. If everything goes pear-shaped, you don't want to throw everything away tonight. You're hoping that your competitors will do that and make your life just that little bit easier. So it's the old adage, I guess, maybe sort of cautiously aggressive, if that makes sense. That's my term. That's what they want to do, is you know, be mindful, but yeah, take those opportunities when they present, but don't put yourself in a position where you could end your night prematurely.
Exactly right. And with 400 points on the line and 1,200 across the course of 3 races, hitting a speed hump here. Oh no, car off the road, taking evasive action as we ride on board with Bo Albert. So that's one lap thrown by the wayside. But yes, if you slip up or trip up tonight, you're making a rod for your own back for the next 2 rounds of the endurance campaign for Trueforce, of course. Bo Albert, currently showing 26th position there.
How good.
06. And how good that we've got the onboard shot, not just on circuit at the moment, but from his home cockpit as well, to ride on board with him and watch him at work and see how he does it. Andrew Gilliam's fastest to the second split as well. There's a purple box there, folks. He comes across the line this time by. He doesn't improve on his time. It's a 1:31.478. Albert goes 1:31.921. And that, just to give you an indication, ladies and gentlemen, as to the fine margins we're talking about here, I mean, those guys are outside the top 20. It's extraordinarily tight at the moment. Everyone down to Ethan Grigol is within half a second of the pole sitter. And Ethan Grigol's 21st. That's Kurt Sternberg in the wall.
Has he made contact? It's weird that that thing would come to a stop.
Or is he trying to get across the road?
He's under power. I don't know that the stewards will be too impressed with that.
No, I was going to say that's not the safest entry or approach to pit lane I've ever seen in my life.
I haven't even seen a replay. Perhaps he was thinking about coming into the lane and he just decided to get out of the way for the traffic. Yeah, don't know, but I guess the main thing is the car's straight. He's made it back to pit lane so he can finish off and have one more run at it. But yeah, that certainly looked a little bit weird as we go to the OG Gear replay.